Hey there, welcome back to the Skills Canada Technical Training Guide for Graphic Design. Today we're talking about varnishes, and I'm going to show you, in case you're not sure what a varnish is, here's an example of a varnish. All right, this is something you might come across from time to time, and I'm sure you've seen some printed pieces that have this sort of an effect on them. Generally, a varnish is a separate ink that prints. It's usually clear. It creates a separate sort of an effect on the paper. It could be glossy, it could be matte. There's all sorts of different effects when it comes to varnishes. But generally, it's going to create sort of a feel on the paper that's different than the surrounding artwork. And today we're going to look at how to actually create that, so that if you did have to create a varnish for whatever reason, you would know how. All right, I'm going to show it both in InDesign and Illustrator so that you know how to do it in both. So let's jump over to InDesign first. All right, so here's just a fake cover for a magazine, just for the purpose of this tutorial, nothing else. What we are going to do is we're going to add a varnish to this page. And the first step, of course, is to decide what you want to have as a varnish. Now, what you could do is you could add a picture that has a design or a pattern as a varnish. There's a lot of different ways you could do this. For this example, I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm going to have the title as a varnish. I'm going to have these 3 bars as a varnish, and maybe this block as a varnish. All right, I'm just going to unlock my layer, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, so first of all, we want to create the art. Not the art, but we want to create the parts that are going to have the varnish applied to them. So in this case, I'm going to select these 3 blocks. I'm going to select this block, and I'm going to select the title. Those are my 3 varnish parts in this case. Like I said, you don't have to use existing parts of the design. You could create new parts entirely made just for the varnish, okay? In this case, I'm just going to use what I've already got. What I'm going to do is create a new layer. Very important. I'm going to rename this layer Varnish. All right, capitals make it obvious that this is the varnish layer. I'm going to paste those elements in place on that layer. All right, don't worry about how it looks. It really doesn't matter at this point. I'm going to lock the original layer, and so now these 3 parts are sitting over the original art. Next, what I need to do is I need to actually set up the swatch for the varnish itself. And that's very important that it's not part of your CMYK, your combined CMYK, because that will cause an issue. All right, so you're going to go to Window. You're going to go to Swatches under Color, Swatches. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit this little plus down here. And we're going to go into that new swatch, and we're going to change a couple things. Okay, now if you didn't have a color already there, you're going to start from scratch, from nothing. But in this case, I'm just going to turn this off. I want to name my color value, and I'm going to name it Varnish. I'm going to make sure that the color type is Spot. Also very important, we do not want it part of CMYK. We want it a spot color, which means it's going to be separate. Okay, and then we're going to make it some sort of a bright color. I'm using magenta 100% here. If you have a die line that also uses magenta, you might want to change it. You might want to use a different color, but in this case, 100% magenta. I'm going to hit OK. And you're going to see the swatch gets added to our library. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pieces and apply the swatch color to them. All right, I'm going to turn off the stroke because I don't need it in this case. I'm going to go to the title. Like I said, the title is going to have it. Whoops, I deselected it. I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to do these 3 blocks, which are also going to have the varnish color. Whoops, I'm on stroke. Like that. And you're going to see that these 3 bars are over, like they're multiplying because I had an effect on there. So let's just turn that off. We'll set it to normal. And now you'll see that we have these elements sitting on a layer above called varnish. Okay, but The problem is that we are not done yet. All right, a lot of competitors will just end here and be like, okay, it's good. There's a major problem with the way this is set up right now, and I'm going to show you what you need to watch out for. Go to Window, go to Output, and go to Separations Preview. What Separation Preview is going to let you see is how this file is going to separate on the press. All right, so you got your cyan, got your magenta, you got your yellow, you got your black, and then you got your varnish. All right, now let's do this in reverse and let's see if we see a problem. If I take the varnish off, do you see the problem? None of the artwork that is supposed to be under the varnish is there. And the reason it's not there is because the magenta ink of the varnish is actually replacing the artwork underneath rather than being printed on top of that artwork. All right, so if this went to a printer and they printed this the way it was, the varnish would actually remove the artwork and we would have a shiny area, but we would have nothing underneath it to actually add to that effect. So what we need to do in this case is we need to select these pieces. We need to select the different varnish pieces that we've created. And we need to go to Window, Output, Attributes, okay? And in Attributes, you're going to see the option to overprint your fill, which means that all of these pieces are now going to be printing over the existing artwork underneath. With text, you have to actually select the text and then turn on overprint fill. This is actually going to turn black, or not black, but a dark red, okay? Because it's mixing with the color underneath. So now you'll notice in your separation preview, okay, make sure when you come into the separation preview that you turn on separations, okay? I forgot to mention that. And now when you turn off your varnish, you will see that that varnish is sitting over the artwork underneath, not replacing it, okay? And I can still turn off my other layers, and just so you know, when you see a single layer it goes black, it doesn't mean it's going to print black, it's just that layer, that just shows you what's on that layer. Okay, so that's how you do it in InDesign. Let's jump over to Illustrator. Let's do the exact same thing in Illustrator. So let's go over there. Okay, same file, same sort of issue, I guess you could say. I'm going to remove the swatch that I already had there. I'm also going to remove the layer that I already have there because I'm going to show you how to do it. It's basically the same, just everything is in different spots in Illustrator. So I'm going to zoom in on my artwork here. We're just going to zoom in and take a look. So same thing, we want this, and this, in the box as a varnish. So same steps. Select the parts you want or create the parts you want, either or. Copy them, make a new layer, make sure to call it varnish. Okay, lock the original just so you don't accidentally move something, paste it in place. Everything goes in the right spot. Then you're going to go to your swatches. So if you don't know where to find swatches, Window, Window, Swatches. It's a little different in Illustrator. Then we're going to make a new swatch. In here it looks a little different, but it's still the same. Varnish, spot color, set your color to whatever you want it to be. In this case, I'm making it 100% magenta, and I'm going to hit OK. Now I have a spot color there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my pieces, and I'm going to make them this varnish color. Color guide, whoops, not color guide, sorry. Here, swatches, and I did that last time too. Whoops, we want the fill. There we go. And I got that same sort of that multiply effect here, so I'm just going to go to Window, transparency here, and we're going to set it to normal. Okay, now same problem is going to occur here. If I go to Window and I go to see my separation preview, which is right here, separations preview, you'll notice that we have the same problem. I turn off my varnish, it is removing the artwork underneath, which is not what we want. Same deal, we need to set it to overprint, so we're going to select all the parts of the varnish, all these parts, and then we're going to go up to Window, and we're going to go to Attributes, and there's that option, Overprint Fill. We turn it on, and now our varnish will be printing correctly. It will be overprinting the artwork underneath. Like I said, it's the last to print, so it's going to print correctly because the artwork underneath will print first and the varnish will be last. And that is how you correctly set up a varnish in both InDesign and Illustrator.